Hello, everyone. Happy Thursday. My name is Elisa, and welcome to today's presentation. We have Mike here, who is leading the presentation on insulated translucent panels and sustainable daylighting design, presented by Kalwall. A few things to note about today's presentation. It is AIA approved, so you will be receiving CEUs. If you did not include your registration in today's presentation link, I'll drop that form in the chat so you can make sure to receive credit for today's presentation. Second thing to note, we will be launching a webinar poll about 3/4 of the way through the presentation. Really great way to connect with Mike for any project specific requests or even just for some firm library requests as well. I'm going to quickly show my screen and share how to find Kalwall on Acelab. Give me 1 second here. Okay, so this is their brand page. Really great information about the company, great contact information as well, and then an overview of their products with construction details and everything else you might need. Finally, I'll also include a link to this in the chat. This is how you can request things like lunch and learns, virtual presentations with Kalwall, and include some more details about your company. I think that's everything. So whenever you are ready, Mike, I'll let you take it away.
Okay, thank you, everyone. And good morning or good afternoon, depending where you are. I'm broadcasting live from New Hampshire. So it's after lunch here. But anyway, so let's get going. Welcome to Insulated Translucent Panels and Sustainable Daylighting Design. I am Mike Keller, again, the VP of North American Sales for Kalwall. And you're going to learn a little bit more about me as we move forward. And hopefully you find this entertaining and educational. So it's going to start off with a brief commercial. To me, that's the best part, but it's helpful to understand exactly how the product is put together and assembled before we get into some more details. So let's get started. Kalwall was founded in 1955 by this man, Robert Keller. In fact, Kalwall stands for Keller's, it's the K, aluminum. The frame originally was all aluminum wall, Keller's aluminum wall. 3 engineers working with lightweight airplane frames trying to bond fiberglass to aluminum, right? How do they come together? Because they expand at different rates. So he came up with adhesive that we still use today to bond the fiberglass face sheet to the aluminum frame. So let's fast forward 70 years, pretty incredible. The company now has over 400 international employees. We are primarily based in the US, but we do have a presence overseas. And the company is still privately held, still family owned. In fact, not only is the guy on the screen a great inventor, he's also my grandfather. So I'm 3rd generation, along with a brother and a bunch of cousins and a couple uncles, and we all intend to keep Kalwall going for at least another 70 years. So what is it? What are we talking about today? It's a structural composite sandwich panel. Boy, that's a lot of words, right? So let's focus on the word sandwich, because some of you may be having lunch right now. What's the bread? Exterior FRP, designed to withstand the harsh sun. Interior FRP, designed to code standards for fire and smoke development. And they're both permanently bonded using the adhesive we just talked about, right? The magic sauce, to a grid core that's either thermally broken or not. So you see on the screen there, the interlocking I-beams that make it a structural composite sandwich panel. So unlike glass or polycarbonate that need to glaze into a structure, the panel itself is structural. So we'll learn more about the closure system as we go forward, but that's a huge differentiator between us and other daylighting materials. So what's inside the bread? Like, what's the meat of the sandwich? Well, the interlocking I-beams you see there, which are nominally 12 inches wide by 24 inches tall, and we can make different sizes and shapes, as you'll see, but most of them are 12 by 24. The cavity that's created by those I-beams that's encased by the FRP is either air gap, so no physical insulation, or we have 3 different levels of angel hair spun fiberglass, similar to Owens Corning pink, but it's white, or aerogel. So what do we know about aerogel? Spectacular properties, but it's very expensive, right? So we're going to see aerogel on the screen coming up next, and you're going to think, well, why wouldn't everyone go with that? And the reason why is it literally could double the cost of a project. So And usually it's quite frankly, it's unnecessary unless you're doing I like to say a pool enclosure in Alaska. Otherwise, our standard two of the four insulation packages are more than adequate. So the last thing I want to say is the panel has a coating on the outside, which makes it virtually maintenance free. And we'll talk about that as we go forward. All right, so here again, the different combinations of face sheet and insulation packages. So crystal and white are the standard colors. You can do, either one on the outside or the inside, or both, crystal, crystal, white, white. Then running across the top here, here's air gap, insulation, 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 aerogel, resultant visible light transmission values, and resultant solar heat gain coefficients. 2 3/4 inch panel, 4 inch panel, optional, again, very rarely needed, 99% of the time. 2 3/4 inch panel, more than adequate. Now, you're looking at some of these values and saying 26%, 13.7? That sounds really low, right? Well, the fact of the matter is, and we can do daylight modeling to show, usually that's more than adequate because of the way the light passes through the panels. And we'll talk about that in a moment as well. So don't get put off by these, but what may appear to be lower numbers. But the takeaway for you today is there's lots of factors that go into designing with the product. There's the aesthetics. What does it look like? What does it insulate? The light that comes through, the solar heat gain. So what's most important to you, right? Typically, quite frankly, it's all four. So we can come up with a combination that achieves exactly what you're looking for. All right, back to the panel. Standard 2 3/4 inches. With system, it's 3 inches nominal, 4 inches are optional thickness. Maximum panel size. Whoops. Let's try that again. Maximum panel size. 5 foot wide in any one direction. It could be 5 foot wide or 5 foot tall by 20 foot in the other direction. Now, obviously, we can daisy chain the panels together, both vertically and horizontally, to create much larger openings. But the maximum individual panel size is 5 by 20. Here you see the white face sheet, looks kind of more like snow, being from New Hampshire. We like these analogies. Over here, the crystal looks more like ice. Thermally broken panel, right? Nice TB. And then over here, the aluminum frame, the original, not thermally broken aluminum frame. Why would you not want to be thermally broken? Canopies, unconditioned space, but the majority of non-canopy projects do go out with a thermally broken grid, which is FRP, by the way, which is ICC compliant. We do have a competitor some of you may know about. They use Porton to Bridge, which is non-ICC compliant. So we're not going to pick on the competition, but while I have this on the screen, I do want to point that out, a big differentiator. Okay, so how does light pass through our panels compared to other materials which may bring in light? And we know what we're talking about. We're talking about acrylic bubbles, glass, of course, polycarbonate, and they all have their inherent strengths and weaknesses, but we obviously firmly believe that we have all the strengths. So one of them is diffuse natural light. And the way we do that is each of the FRP face sheets, right? The face sheets that are exclusive to our product are made up of thousands of chopped glass fibers baked into a resin. And when the sunlight hits each one of those fibers, it scatters the light, right? So you do that thousands of times with the exterior face sheet and the interior face sheet. And you literally have light going in all different directions, no matter where the sun is. So in this case, the sun could be here, high noon, over here, or even down below. These panels will collect, even on a cloudy or rainy day, any available light and send it down evenly into the space below with no shadows and no glare. There's no other product that can do that. We've all looked up at polycarbonate, even tinted windows. And when the sun is, say, right over here, you can tell exactly where it is. And it's a little challenging to look up at that skylight. And then, of course, down here on the floor, you get, hot spots and glare and whatnot. So again, true diffuse natural light is what you get through these panels. And because light gets scattered in the prism you see there on the left into the full spectrum, you get full accurate color rendition. So the architect, interior designer, whatever that selected this yellow gets this exact yellow without any tinting or referential color that comes down through the skylight. Full color spectrum representation down below. So again, interior designers like it, museums like it, right? And we'll show that in a moment as well. Standard face sheets, white and crystal. Up here, we've had this line of tinted face sheets for quite some time. Aqua rose, ice blue, greenish blue, all of them represented on this Coney Island project. Down here, so-called cloud series, for obvious reason. Cumulus, Cirrus, Nimbus, and Stratus have relatively new and really become popular. The Stratus there on the far right has really taken off because, well, quite frankly, it looks very different than the usual panel, exterior face sheet. But one of the questions we get is, boy, that looks like metal panel. Does it broadcast any light? Well, it absolutely does. We are a daylighting company. So up here, you see the standard, classic look of the Kalwall panel. Down here, that's us too, right? Nice dark architectural band. But let's move over here. Backlit, you can see that it's still broadcasting light, right? About half of what's above it. So this is probably crystal white. This is stratus white. And again, about half of the light transmission. Down here, you can't really see it because of the catwalk, but it is broadcasting light into the space. This is usually everyone's favorite slide. They had no idea we do all these exciting grid patterns, right? We think we're just a shoji panel company, but let's move across the screen here. So this is reverse shoji, basically that on edge. Vertical, what's that kind of remind you of? Channel glass, right? Ladder, same thing on its side. Tuckerman, what's that remind you of? Glass block, right? Staggered is kind of a retro look, making a comeback. Planked, planked to me reminds me of staggered. If staggered and vertical had a baby, right? Stretched out a little bit. Herringbone, these get a little more funky down here, but again, they all have a purpose. In fact, I recently had a project from a company called Diamondback Racing, and they wanted to use our product. And boy, were they thrilled that we had this Diamondback grid pattern. And by the way, some of you may be wondering where these names come from: Coos, Merrimack, Belknap, Tuckerman. Well, these bottom three here, these are townships in New Hampshire, and Tuckerman is the backside of Mount Washington that you can ski down in the winter if you're young and crazy. So anyway, here's some of them in person. We have Merrimack up here, Coos, Herringbone, Plank. The one in the middle here is a very custom Frank Lloyd Wright inspired Tree of Life grid pattern in an animal hospital in Atlanta, Georgia. So again, we can do standard, we can do optional, and we can do custom. Bring us your designs. Let's think outside the box. All right. Anyone heard of Jeff Bezos, Amazon fame? You probably have. He has his own little shipping company and, of course, a rocket company, as most billionaires do. He wanted a custom blue color for his rocket company, Blue Origin. And so we were able to accommodate that. But you don't need Jeff money. You, too, can also have a custom color exterior face sheet that is full thickness. So if you had to sand it for whatever reason, it's not like it's a coating or a film on the outside that goes away when you sand it. It's full thickness. The other question everyone asks, so I'm going to answer it now, is the room inside blue? And if you've been paying attention, and I know you have, you know that as light passes through the face sheet, it scatters the light into the full spectrum. So yes, a little blue light passes through the exterior face sheet, but when it hits the interior, it scatters it in the full spectrum back to all the colors that would be there if it was not, the exterior was not blue. So you could have this design accent, but not worry about, again, having a blue or orange or yellow or, whatever room inside. Very exciting. Schools love to use this as well. Bring a little design accent. And we can do custom colors as well as a few standards. Anyway, you've been around as long as we have. You've seen some older projects out there that are performing their primary function, right? They're not leaking. They're still broadcasting light, but they don't look so good. So we are well aware that there's some projects out there that are 60, 65 plus years old. Incredible. They've been on the buildings that long and still performing. But hey, that was older technology, and the industry has come a decent way, but we wanted to do better. This is all we do, folks. So just being good and adequate was not acceptable. So around 20 years ago, we brought the entire operation in-house, and since then we've been manufacturing our own face sheets. We're the only company that does that. So we have full control over quality and over quantity. Believe it or not, we had our spectacular business during COVID because nothing came from overseas, nothing had to come from suppliers. It's all manufactured in-house in New Hampshire. So we were able to accommodate our customers, including new ones who just selected our product only because they needed to close in a building, and we were able to do so. So anyway, um, so huge advancements in technology on the outside face sheet, super weathering polymer matrix. There's a glass veil erosion barrier. In years past, eventually the resin would wear away and the fibers would start to poke through the face sheet, and that would collect dirt, right? So it wasn't even like yellowing, it was just dirty panels. Now there's a coating on, well, there's a glass veil erosion barrier so the fibers won't poke through, and there's a coating on the outside, which makes it, again, virtually maintenance free. We'll show that in a moment. Inside as well, huge advancements with fire safety. And so we obviously want to make sure that it's a good looking performing panel, but also safe for your occupants. Here's a 25-year-old plus project that looks like it's brand new, right? So there's the new face sheets, well, newer, right, for in the past 20, 25 years at this point, really performing well and showcasing what we can do, which again, our competitors still buy face sheet on the commercial market, and you never know what you're going to get, right? So having that quality control and supply is key to success. That's the panel. Let's look at the perimeter system metal, which holds a panel into a rough opening in this case. And you'll notice that there's room for expansion. There's a little space here. Also for, we all know that steel, right, over a run is not going to be perfectly flat. So that's been thought of. Thermally broken here. This horizontal batten, of course, is automatically thermally broken. Down here, we have a weep channel. So if any kind of water from condensation or whatnot ends up inside the panel, it'll drain out this channel down to the exterior of the building. Backer rod and sealant not required, not needed, and not authorized, quite frankly. We want to make sure it drains. Inside here, there's a condensation tray. Anything that ends up on the interior face sheet, again, for whatever reason, bad HVAC, is collected and doesn't end up inside the space. Here's a corner batten, jam detail, again, thermally broken, vertical batten here. Obviously, we can span much taller than this, but we just shrunk it down for detail purposes. So that's a wall. Let's get into, I happen to pick self-supporting ridge roofs. We do supported as well, sheds, all different types of roofs, but let's talk about self-supporting. Again, thermally broken. In this case, this is the thermal strut, which we are heading towards. The code requirement is heading towards thermal strut, not allowing poured into bridge eventually. So we're on the cutting edge of that. So lots of end conditions we can cap off by sitting on a curb, butting up against a curb, sitting on a curb but flashing over the top of it. Lots of different options. End walls, of course. And again, condensation tray, room for flexibility, weep channels out of the back here. So really, very, installers love using this product because these are time tested, and if installed properly, and we obviously provide that level of guidance, that it literally could end up being, a robust system for, again, over 60 years. So you try to show me any other product, especially glass, that can last 60 years, and I'll eat my hat. So because of all that, we've been the industry leader since 1955. A lot of notable firsts. We're not going to spend too much time on those, but again, always pushing the boundaries of science and technology to deliver the very best panel we possibly can. A lot of historical projects. St. Louis Abbey here, designed by Guy Obata of HOK fame. First thin shell concrete structure. Pretty much the Stratus face sheet. It isn't, because that's a new face sheet, but we call this one Priory Gray back in the day. But the idea was having dark, private face sheets that also did broadcast light. 10th of tomorrow, 1964 World's Fair. Company was 9 years old when we manufactured this enormous, I call it the flying saucer. It was what they used at the end of the movie Men in Black, if you recall. But anyway, so this thing is huge, and it's not there now, but we are in talks with the Port Authority to see if they're going to put it back. And the colors you see here are the result of tinting the insulation that's inside each of the grids, the interlocking grid core that make up each panel. NASA Vertical Assembly Building at the time, the largest private building, and it's on the Florida landscape, very exposed, right? And has survived 5 hurricanes, including Irma, with our standard face sheet. Really impressive. Obviously, for code requirement, we now have a hurricane high impact face sheet, but back then, standard has stood the test of time in a very harsh environment. House 6 by Peter Eisenman. This is the Japanese Shinran Museum. And over here, the PAT Center. Not a very exciting use of our product, but a very exciting project. It's a total exoskeleton with no interior supports. More recently, Middle West Spirits, designed by Jonathan Barnes. They wanted to use some Kalwall, and we showed them that by doing daylight modeling analysis, they would get the quality of light they wanted in their gathering spaces, as well as in their industrial spaces. So they ended up wrapping the entire upper facade using our product. Here, right here, also Windows by Us got integrated in to create a little vision, right? So it looks great. Daylight modeling analysis, free of charge. That's true. It's free of charge. Talk to your local representatives or call me if you want, and we'll get you set up. It's a fantastic way to show, hey, remember before I said 37, 25, even 7% light transmission? We can prove scientifically what exactly it's going to look like. So here is an example. It's a 16-page report. I'm just showing 3 right here. It starts off with a model, right? A representation of your project. Here's the Kalwall here. Down here, clear glazing. Could introduce that as well if needed. And over here, here's the amount of light you're going to get, the UDI. And you see nice, beautiful representation throughout the day. The only area where the light is excessive, well, that's where the windows are. But that's even still pretty good. Over here, here's how often you're going to get it. Again, so excellent autonomy. And again, it's a fantastic resource for you, free of charge. It's a fully engineered report, so it does count for submittals. And if you're looking for lead credits, it does give you 1 point. So let's move on. Amateur Resource Center, designed by Big. This one is a explosion venting project for us. So this is a waste to energy facility which has concerns about blast relief. So we used our EV panels, and we'll show you how those work in a moment. Anyone have any idea what's going on here on the roof of this building? Some of you have probably seen the Netflix documentary about Big and realized that this is actually a ski slope. So pretty exciting. I am a skier and would one day love to get to Denmark to check out this building. All right, here's one of my favorites because we can walk right up to it, right? A lot of these other pictures we've seen are kind of far away or a little more, dramatic. This is a nice, simple opening at a college gymnasium in Virginia. And what I want to point out is here's a system metal, right? Sill, arched head. This is a false batten. The architect wanted to accentuate the spring lines. So we did that. These vertical battens are only here for weather-tight closure. Remember, it's a structural composite sandwich panel. These panels are holding themselves up. There's no engineering involved on your part. There's no supports required. Installation is super simple. You lay the track down here, panels pop in, and in the perimeter exterior system, panels pop in, boom, 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 and then it gets sealed up from the outside. So really, again, simple design, less materials required, less time on site, overall lower project cost. Okay, enough of the commercial. Let's get into the actual presentation. The AIA has requested I not use the company name. Questions are held at the very end, and you will get credit for this. So it's not just me entertaining you. You're also going to get those well-needed points and credits. So what are we talking about? Daylighting versus sunlight. We'll talk about sustainable design, energy conservation, some different techniques, and we'll show you some nice, pretty pictures near the end as to how these types of products and panels can be utilized. Most of this we've already covered, but I do want to point out that panels can be flat, they can be curved or irregular shapes. Here's the Alexander Calder Museum. And okay, so let's talk about the power of natural daylighting, right? Diffuse daylighting. So over here, 650 lux, over here, 600 lux. even under the overhang. So it's the power, again, of translucent daylighting, sending light far into the space, scattered, equal, essentially, right? 650 to 600, with no shadows and no glare, and full color representation. So again, this artist spent a lot of time selecting these reds and blues and oranges or whatnot, and having exact color representation is crucial, right, for these types of applications. I'm a daylighting nerd. I love this project. Nice, simple, clear stories up high, bringing all this beautiful natural light down into the space below. No shadows, no glare. Not anti-glass though. Totally recognize that they can coexist. But we're finding very interesting the one of the primary benefits. There's lots of them, but one of the primary ones in schools, especially in the front, by utilizing translucent sandwich panels, is privacy. Right, so you bring all that beautiful light in like you used to with a monument to glass, but now it's no longer a fishbowl. So anyone who's outside, looking to cause a little trouble, which we see in the news on a regular basis, translucent sandwich panels provide that level of privacy, which protect the kids inside. All right, sunlight versus daylight. So here is a sunlight, right? So it's just an 8x8 grid of acrylic bubbles bringing 100% sunlight down into the space below. That darkens the area around it because, boy, the eye has to adjust to this bright hotspot in the middle of the room. Really poor lighting. So look at the clock on the wall. Same day, a few hours later, boom. Look how excited she is with her new light. So we go from 100% sunlight to 26% daylighting. That's the power, again, of diffused natural daylighting. So there's a 8 foot by 8 foot pyramid up here, crystal over white, 0.23 U factor, 26% light transmission. So that is really good lighting, making everyone happy at this nurse's station. All right, here is what's going on here in this court. Anyone have any idea? Way too many lines. This is a gym in Belgium, and it was originally going to have some glazing up here, clear glazing, and it was determined that there'd be too much glare, right? So when these nets came down, any kid that was going to shoot up for a basket would get sun in the eyes, so they used all translucent. So glare can be a real factor, especially if you're looking for lead points. There's a whole section that if you've got glare, it eliminates the points. So it really can be a detriment. But you know who else doesn't like glare? This lady. So I was going through the Detroit airport a few years ago, and I asked her, "Do you mind if I take your picture?" And she said, "No." No, I don't mind. Please send it to my boss. This is how I spend the majority of my afternoons. So really uncomfortable. Glare is a real issue. So let's help this woman out and give her some translucent sandwich panels. Museum quality daylighting, we already showed up, the accurate color rendition. But here's more good news. It also protects from fading from UVA and UVB radiation rather. So you get all the good and none of the bad, right? So all the colors you need, but none of the fading or potentially cancerous light that we want to protect ourselves from. Photosynthesis occurs between 400 and 700 nanometers. So plants, animals do just fine under this product. Heshon Mahone Group did a study years ago that showed, surprise, surprise, nobody wants to work in a concrete bunker, right? So bringing that natural light in is a really great way to enhance productivity and provide a nice natural setting when you got to be indoors for 8 or 9 hours a day. But there's a way to do it. So look at the upper right photo here. Nice clear vision here. We get it. Let's look outside. But up here where the sun really comes in at harsh angles, that's translucent. So that's great design. Down here, they mixed it as well, but they went vertical with the glazing, clear glazing. And so now it's covered up, especially in a computer lab. So let's design some smart projects and really know how the sun operates. Retail sales, you've all been to a mall before, right? With a clear ridge roof. And what ends up happening is you get, a bright hotspot in the morning at one row of stores, across the food court at lunchtime, and across the other side in the afternoon. That is anathema to retail clients that rely upon window shopping or people sitting in the food courts at lunchtime. So again, translucent sandwich panels scattering the light into the space makes it comfortable, functional, and usable light for those types of conditions. schools as well. All the things we've been talking about: privacy, insulation, light transmission, no glare, but also impact resistance. So even the interior standard face sheet takes an enormous amount of abuse. And if for some reason actually, I was looking at a project recently, and someone had shot an arrow through the through the panel. That's pretty much all that gets through it, to be honest with you, at that height, especially. But the point is, it's not going to shatter. It's not going to end up all over the gym floor. The arrow is actually still stuck in the panel, providing a level of sealant, I guess. But the point is that there was no mess on the floor and no issues with safety. So a nice advantage there. 34 D1 schools have gone with this product in the last 8 years alone. Once one of them got it, they all wanted it, right? It's almost a calling card. Coaches like it, players like it. It's comfortable. It's, again, no glare. So the videographers, the guys and gals that film the practices, they don't get, blinded when they're trying to, film the action. All right, I'm going to take a sip of water while you answer a quiz. Obviously, just keep it to yourself because we can't chime in unless you want to. I guess it's a chat function. But here's the quiz. Tell me 2 interesting architectural things about this project. I'll be back to you in 3 seconds. Kind of a vague question, I know, but let's answer them anyway. So number 1, no artificial lighting, right? This kind of, this may have thrown you off a little bit. That's actually a track for the curtain. There's no artificial lighting, so it's all naturally lit. So clearly, daylight modeling had to be brought in to make sure, boy, we got it exactly right, because there was no room for artificial lighting. And look at this. Beautiful, even in the corners, which usually could be dark, beautiful natural daylighting, right? All right, what's number 2? Once you see it, you can't unsee it. You ready? This barrel vault is not in the middle of the room. I'm a form over function guy. I've seen this slide 1,000 times and I can barely stand it. Now, why is it? Well, I think we all know probably this barrel vault, the overall barrel, or roof rather, continued beyond this wall. And so from the outside, this made sense as far as being at the center. But inside, the fact that this basketball net is askew from the center. Can we move on? I can't even look at it. All right. Obviously, the panels are insulated, so controlling heat loss is the primary focus for this project. Let's go inside. Oh, no, I actually tricked you. Not the same project. Looks like it might be, right? Ice rink. This is in southern Spain. It was 105 degrees outside of this day and 37 inside to keep that rink, the ice intact. You better believe solar heat gain is their primary purpose. So insulated and solar heat gain, same panel, performs all functions. Environmental benefits, absolutely, right? So light transmission values, we talked about those. U factors are 5.3. That's, keeps advancing. U factors are 5.3. That's the air gap down to 0.05. It's the aerogel option. R values, if you're in that world, is R2 to R20. Most commonly used panel that's not a canopy is 0.23 U factor, or about an R4.5. Very, very cost effective, very excellent light transmission, and good color rendition. That's the sweet spot. Low solar heat gain coefficients you see there. And the condensation resistance factor is 80 on the grid line and 90 at center of cell. Boy, if you're designing a pool, you're all about CRF, or pool enclosure. So again, the material of choice for those types of applications. We saw at that nurses station in Pittsfield that you can actually turn the lights off and still get beautiful natural light. So, hey, nice way to reduce your energy costs. We're going to zip through some of these. Low maintenance. So we talked about how the exterior has a coating, which makes it virtually maintenance free. Leaves, twigs, bird poop, whatever, it ends up on the outside, gets washed away in a good rainstorm, or you can go up on the roof and just wipe it down if you'd like. But the majority of the time, rain just takes care of everything. So you do not get this. Look at this. There's a clear canopy in a nice hotel in New York, and it's filthy, right? And I don't even know what's going on here on the right-hand side. It looks like someone tried to clean it with a toothbrush. But either way, you would not get this, because even in between rainstorms, the panels are translucent. You can't see through them, right? So it broadcasts light, but you would not see all that stuff on the outside of the the top side or the exterior. Um, but then a good rainstorm would wash it away and make it nice and clean. How about graffiti? There's some parts of some cities where this is a factor. So we hired the local EZ gang. There's their logo right there. Yeah, they're a bad bunch. They travel with a hairdryer. Oh, there it is. So the spray paint is baked on there, and all it takes is some goof off. And as I mentioned before, the coating is still intact. And if you had to sand the panels, not a problem. It's whatever colors that maybe they are going to be maintained. Large missile D, Wind Zone 4, so Texas Department of Insurance requirements, as well as these very strict Miami-Dade's South Florida Building Code, all compliant there. Here's the large missile D test. There is a buzzer, heads up. You may or may not hear it. I just want to give you a little warning. So that happens 8 times at 80 miles an hour. And you see right here, there's some crazing. As long as you pass a water test, you're good to go. So that's large missile D. ATFP requirements, military applications primarily. We see this DoD UFC 4-010-01, anti-terrorist force protection. There's 2 different codes. Make sure you know which one you're working under. But standard panel and system will satisfy 80 to 90% of applications based on standoff distance, charge weight, and occupancy and use, right? So typically this is a hangar. So it's low occupancy, standard panel and system, more than adequate, will pass this ATFP. And if you do require more, it's just a beefier I-beam and some clips. So it's very cost effective. So if ATFP is a requirement, then this is clearly the material of choice. Here's the panels in a blast tunnel. It's coming at us at 6 PSI, or roughly 900 pounds per square foot. And you see the panels deflect like they're supposed to, and then go back to the original shape with no delamination. Explosion venting. So here's a peek at the Amager Resource Center, the one in Copenhagen, Denmark, compliant with Factory Mutual FM 4440. And the way this occurs is by having the panels, first of all, tethered to the rough opening with the aircraft cable, so they don't blast off into the parking lot. They dangle off the building, and they relieve by way of these collapsible washers that are, of course, designed around the wind speed. One of my favorite slides here, look at these guys carrying this very large panel assembly. That's how it comes from the factory if you want it. So we've got panel, translucent panel, operable window, fixed, and then again, panel operable fixed, and in a large assembly. So these guys, literally 2 people. Imagine if that was glass, you'd have equipment, multiple people. If they drop it, these guys can pick it right up and get back to work, versus glass or poly would shatter. And then they lay it in the track, put it up one by one, very easy, far less time on site, far less equipment required, very low cost of overall project cost. And yet, look down here, you got 2,700 pounds of prime New Hampshire factory beef standing on an unadulterated 4x16 panel. And even with this 4-foot overhang here, Harold, who's a hefty fellow, can't get this thing to deflect. So it really is very lightweight and very strong. Because of all that, OSHA fall through compliant, right? So you got these 7 guys standing on a standard skylight. These cages are not needed, or nets underneath, not needed. A very high level of entry protection. We find that insurance costs go way down because you just can't get inside. Even someone with a knife or a little blowtorch, the face sheet's not going to catch on fire, unlike polycarbonate, and you can't get through it again, unlike polycarbonate with a knife. So even if you were to somehow disturb the exterior face sheet, you're not getting through the grid. So unless you're very small. So anyway, spend a little time in this slide, but it's very important. The walkability also helps with installation. Whoops. So let's look at that for a moment. You guys going to get to work? There they go. Look how fast they're going once I gave them the word. So you see them standing on the lower course as they're installing the upper one with no fear of falling through. Code requirement, boy, that's very important, right? Specify the product. Want to make sure it's fully compliant with accurate and current test reports. The company, I can't mention their name, fully compliant and current and up to date. Sustainability and resiliency. There are some company architectural firms you cannot even walk in unless you've got some accreditation and your EPD. And so obviously that's been taken care of. And very proud of the various awards this type of product can achieve. LEED, we'll focus on that for a moment. With base product, not even any kind of fancy coatings or face sheets, base LEED certification, 40 points is achievable on the LEED chart here. EPD is one of them, gets you 1 point. So there it is. Company name, let's move on. Dunbar High School, highest rated LEED school project in the US, 91 out of 110 possible credits, utilizing a translucent panel, a sandwich panel, structural sandwich panel, sawtooth skylight up here, bringing beautiful light into the space below. Again, no shadows and no glare. This one here, Carbon Neutral Energy Solutions Lab. Anyone recognize this building from a movie a few years ago called The Accountant with Ben Affleck? I think 3 people saw it. I'm one of them. So if you saw it, then we're in a very exclusive club. Anyway, what I want to point out is there's obviously a lot of product here. What do you think the light transmission value of these panels is? I hear 30, 40, 50. It's 9% light transmission. So why is that? Well, there's a lot of product here, right? So it had a very high insulation factor. High insulation, less light transmission. Less light transmission, not a problem because there's so much material, right? So they would not believe, the customer or client, that 9% was going to work, but daylight modeling showed it. And sure enough, here's obviously a photo of it after the fact, looking fantastic. LEED Platinum, net zero energy, fantastic. This one here, LBC Certified Living, net zero energy, Committee of the Environment Top 10 winner, Yale Sculpture Building designed by Kieran Timberlake. This one also, Diamond Schmidt, Committee of the Environment Top 10 winner. All right, let's look at some pretty pictures that show the project, some projects and how this type of product can be utilized. We'll start with walls, standard grids. I'm going to zip through these because I'm getting a little short on time. These linear grids, vertical, kind of looks like chin of glass, right? A nice way to mix it up a little bit. Optional grids, there's the staggered grid pattern. Slant back walls, obviously a lot of design and drafting involved. So we don't, they don't just, the panels are hand manufactured in New Hampshire. So I'm going to dip into the company a little bit here just because I want to point out, we want to make sure everything's all aligned. You don't just take product and cut it down and try to make it fit into your space. The grids all have to line, look appropriate. A lot of time is spent to make sure that's aesthetically pleasing. Trap panels at the head, arched head and sill, segmented walls, flat panels held together by slightly angled battens to create a curved look, or actual curved panels, right? You saw them on a roof. Here it is on a wall. Minimum radius is 3 feet. Here's American Airlines hangar again. They wanted the panels running horizontally, right? Not vertically. So that knocked out polycarbonate, which has to install vertically. Otherwise, water gets in their flutes and won't drain. Here's the daylighting nerd project again. 2 clear stories bring beautiful natural light down into the space below with very little artificial lighting needed. Here's an old theater in London that wanted to update its look. So it used standard panels with vinyl applique letters and then LED backlighting. A lot of interest in LED backlighting. The panels really react very well to that and create a nice aesthetic look to all types of projects. Interior, vinyl applique. This one here, gun range in Austin, Texas. It's a concrete bunker. It's a gun range in Texas. And so there's no daylighting going on at all. It's all backlighting. So the panels are about 1 foot proud of the bunker and then backlit. Why? Well, it's free advertising. Boy, this is right near the highway, and someone driving by gets really excited when they see all of the, this giant glowing cube. How was the sign fastened? Enough people asked, so we're going to answer it. You can go through the batten here, right? Not the panel, but you can go through the batten. So these are on a rail, and then the slats that go through the batten and attach to a structure behind the panel. Tinted face sheets, nice way to create some nice design aesthetic. Here's the Temple University down near where I live in Philadelphia. and they wanted their logo inside the panel, right? So strategically placed insulated, a tinted insulation creates their logo inside the panel. Pretty cool. Again, panel unitization, window panel allows for easy and rapid installation. No finger pointing, single source. Windows can be project in, project out, or fixed, head sill or mid panel, and can be any kind of glazing or a 1-inch translucent sandwich panel. So those can be glazed in here as well if you want ventilation, but maintain that full level of privacy. Louvers and spandrels also possible. There's a curtain wall adapter, which will bring the standard 2 3/4 inch panel down to 1 inch from the factory. That allows you to glaze into YKK or Carnier or whatever curtain wall systems for mixed materials, right? So if you've got your own glazing, for example, in a curtain wall, you can also incorporate translucent sandwich panels in that curtain wall system. Deep retrofits, nice educational application here. Looks great. Window replacement is, boy, the bread and butter of this type of product for years. It's a nice, cost-effective way and to bring safety, privacy, controlled light, daylighting, really, and then the impact resistance, of course. Stands up well in industrial spaces. Adaptive reuse. A lot of this product goes in say in retrofitting old factories like in Manhattan, turning them into mixed-use commercial, residential, or storage facilities. Believe it or not. Sky roofs. Let's talk about those for a moment. What do you not see here? Everyone usually goes lighting because of the previous quiz. No, there's lights. You don't see structure, right? Go up to around 20 feet in Florida, Maine, more like 14 because of snow loads, but you get the idea. Self-supporting ridge roofs. So those grids you see, we have people say, hey, we love your product. Can you get rid of the grids? Well, that's like asking your home builder, can you build me a house, but get rid of those rafters under the roof. You need them, right, for structural rigidity. So that's what makes this nice, clean design of those grids. Again, these battens here are weather-tight closure, not providing any structural performance at all. And then look down here again, no netting, right? OSHA fall-through compliant, and beautiful glare-free, shadow-free light. Same here in this curved application. Beautiful custom sky roof here. This one had ridge support, so it's really just 2 sheds. Panels over steel. If you need to span beyond that 20 feet, you can use support by others. Like this one did here. Riding arena, boy, they were concerned about shatterproof, right? So they didn't want any glass or poly or other type of shatterable materials. Not sure if that's a word. It is now. To fall into a riding arena, which would cause huge disruption for what they were trying to accomplish there. Nice indoor-outdoor project here. This is the South Bend Regional Airport in Indiana. Beautiful on a curved supported vault. Existing supports, so old historical supports can be utilized to clad over the top. American Heritage Indian Museum wanted the roof to look like a canoe, so made that shape happen. Or this long run of sheds here at Heathrow Airport, bringing nice natural light in the space below. If it goes beyond the area that you need, sister company will provide the box beams and engineering. Again, single source, so give us the opening and the snow load, and everything is taken care of. Design, wet stamp the drawings, box beams, delivery, installation, total turnkey solution. So again, if daylighting is what you need, regardless of the size, translucent sandwich panels are the solution. Nice pyramid here. This one here is the East River Plaza in New York, and no one would touch this thing because these 2 buildings sway a collective 18 inches between the 2 of them. So this side's on the slip pad going that way, this side's on the slip pad going that way. And this company designed the structure and the sandwich panels to create this beautiful, dramatic, interesting, really uber canopy over the walkway, over the space below. You can see it off the FDR. It's really quite fascinating. Here it is right here, if you didn't notice it. This one here, architect said, make us an exploding scarlet pearl. Okay. So again, thinking outside the box, having some fun with translucent sandwich panels, looks fantastic. Glazing on slope possible, pool enclosures from the ground up. All of this is, again, single source, including the operable roof. Press a button, the panels slide open for weather for some fresh air. Corrosion resistance, Wastewater treatment facilities love this type of product. Again, for the harsh environments, will stand up to this product. And removable systems can be incorporated, right? So sometimes these very large tanks, they have to come out through the roof. There's no other option. MRI machines, same thing in hospitals sometimes. So notice the eye hook here. Whatever crane is pulling out those tanks, boy, it's more than adequate to pull the roof off. Less than 2 pounds per square foot, around 3 with system. So you get the idea. So lightweight, again, makes it easy to make these systems removable for your applications that require them. Skylights, lots of options here. These are what are referred to as S-line single panel skylights, perimeter curb flashing from the factory. Literally, 2 people can pull it off a truck, lay it down on curbs by others, fasten it in, and you're done. Minimal construction experience required. So very cost effective to buy, very cost effective to install. And because, again, daylight is scattered into the space below, you don't need anywhere near as many as you would if that was acrylic bubbles, right? Which need to sort of spotlight as you go down the hall. And because, again, even pushed up into this light well, you still see beautiful, translucent, comfortable, functional, no glare, no shadows. I've said it a million times, but boy, that's the magic of what these panels provide. Pyramids as well, all different sizes and slopes are available. Geo roofs, same thing. Different slopes and pitches available. OSHA fall through compliant, right? It's a walkable roof, no fence around the geo roof. Somebody could scamper across the top of this thing without fear of falling through. And with beautiful grid patterns underneath. Last category, we're almost there. Canopies. A lot of use of these during COVID. People having to wait outside of buildings, but even with COVID subsiding, or who knows where it's going. But the point is, there's lots of options for canopies. Why use translucent canopies, right, for an exterior space? You're not daylighting an area. Well, in a sense, you are, right? So you're providing safety, and I'll show you what I mean by that. But you're also sending light into the lobby, providing a nice, comfortable space here, so you don't get this, right? Standing metal seam roof. What do you got? Optic shock. Very bright, very dark, very bright. Anyone driving underneath here, the eyes can't adjust quick enough, so they don't really see someone maybe who's walking out in across this crosswalk. So having that nice, let's go back to this one again, nice even light from the outside to the inside provides that level of protection from the rain, somewhat from the sun, but also provides safety. All right, Long Island Railroad, nice examples here of beautiful waiting areas, large canopies. This one here, their primary function was, hey, nobody wants to stand over these train tracks or power lines to clean them. So having them be low maintenance was key to that project. Self-supporting ridge roofs, nice clean design up here. Barrel vaults, rather, not ridge roof. The Monumental Skylight sister company I mentioned before could do these beautiful turnkey canopies, give us the footings and everything up north of that, including the panels, glass, lighting, all that sort of thing. Again, full turnkey option. This one here started off as a single glass canopy, and translucent panels were the VE option for 2. So for the same price as one glass canopy, they got 2 translucent sandwich panel canopies. So nice deal there, and provides excellent wayfinding at night. Emergency entrance, where do I go? There it is. This one here, architects said make the supports like pencils in a cup. Not a problem. Everything comes out from the factory good to go. Just a pretty picture. Go Patriots. All right. I'm sure I'm getting some boos right now, but company is based out of New Hampshire. And so Patriots got the win for the slide. But you'll go to sports stadiums all across the U.S., even internationally, you'll see the product somewhere. Miller Park, Yankee Stadium, Hall of Heroes, there's a ton of it. It really, again, is a nice way to bring comfortable light to people down below. Walkways provide a nice visual connection between buildings. And for open circulation, look how comfortable this lighting is, and even though it's providing the protection as well. A nice application here is a school, and boy, look how restrictive this area here is. Again, visual privacy was of utmost importance in this very restrictive space with potential for bad actors outside. Can't see the occupancy of the space within. Very last slide. Boy, I'm a daylighting nerd. I mentioned it before. I'll say it again. I love the soft glow of these panels. I love the natural daylighting, no shadows, no glare, and the artificial lighting is off. And with that, folks, I'm going to stop talking. You've been listening to me for an hour. There's so much to talk about. There's so many features and benefits to the product. You can't just say a couple things and move on. So hopefully you'll learn some things today. My name and number there on the screen. Acelab will also provide it. And we really encourage you. It's a little different product than you're used to maybe working with. So having a full understanding is very important. So we'd love to come into your office with samples, some daylight modeling studies, again, free of charge, and really have those conversations. And last 70 years saying yes to everything. Oftentimes we come in and we decide, well, maybe the product works here, but not over there, or maybe not at all. And that's not a problem. We're not trying to, make the whole world translucent. We want successful projects with happy clients. I promised I would stop talking. Now I really will. Any questions?
Thank you so much. I think we only have time for one question, and then any other questions can be saved, and Mike will get to you after the presentation. You might need to talk just a little bit more, Mike, but I'll ask you this question here. Thank you for the presentation. Does it require additional guardrails if installed from floor to ceiling? Could handrails be attached to the panels if required? Can it be used in fire separations? So I know that's 3 questions in one, but.
Yep. Okay. So I know I'm short on time, so I'll try to be quick.
Yep.
The first question was regarding handrails, right?
It was, yep. Does it require additional guardrails if installed from floor to ceiling?
Okay. So I would love to zip back through the slideshow. Well, actually, there's a couple of them here that actually show it. No, the answer is no, it does not, because let's see, this one actually has handrails, but it's a parking garage. But there was other projects that I think I showed earlier on that do not need it. So again, the panels are structural. You cannot get through it. Really, the only thing that will get through the panel is a bullet or a forklift. So people can lean against it. They can do whatever they can run and try to crash through it. They're not getting through it. So handrails are not required. Fire separation. It's not a fire rated product. It obviously is Class A, CC1 compliant. So we do have obviously very high fire safety in regards to code compliancy. But as far as the being a actual fire break, we usually require a fire break by others if you're going to span multiple floors, right? Because there is Chapter 26 of IBC does require a certain amount of translucent panels. I believe it's around 40%, depending on application. And what was the third question? Help me out, Elisa.
Oh, could handrails be attached to the panels if required?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So they could go through the batten, much like that, the gun range in Austin, Texas. You could go through the batten, right? Not the panel itself. We don't want to, pierce the panel, but through the batten. And we have wider battens we could utilize if you've got a, more structural need, and then attach to something behind it. So it could, but I'm telling you, the vast majority of time, it's not required.
Awesome. Thank you. Any other questions? Mike will get to you after today's presentation. We just made it on time. Thanks for such a great presentation, Mike. And I hope you have a great rest of your week. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.